Nebraska's next governor says he'll work to cut property taxes for farmers, but who will run the Department of Agriculture under Pete Ricketts? Also on this episode, Nebraska Farmers Union sounds concerned about climate change, and we'll talk to the head of the National Corn Growers about government regulation. NTV's Grow starts now. Nebraska's next governor says agriculture remains his top priority. But who will lead his ag team? The governor-elect says he's been meeting with his ag advisory team and will name a director for the Department of Agriculture soon. He wouldn't say if he plans to keep Greg Iba in that position or look elsewhere. When it comes to policy, Ricketts says cutting property taxes is #1 on his agenda. But lawmakers point out political power lies in the Lincoln and Omaha area.
The biggest concern I have right now in the state of Nebraska is the geographic diversity in population. If you go to Lincoln and you draw a line from South Dakota to Kansas down 40th Street in Lincoln, half the people in the state of Nebraska live east of that line.
Among the new senators is Kurt Friesen of Hamilton County. He's a lifelong farmer and has served on the Corn Board. Over the summer, Nebraska ag groups band together to fight an EPA rule that defines waters. The National Corn Growers Association say it's a major concern. NTV's Megan Johnson brings you the story.
Though they're talking about different crops, both the Nebraska Corn Growers Association and Nebraska Soybean Association say one of the policies under discussion at their annual meetings is the Waters of the U.S. rule. The Nebraska Soybean Association president says when the EPA proposed clarifying what waters under Clean Water Act means, they joined other ag groups to fight what they say can harm many farmers.
The whole country, not just Nebraska, and we've formed a Common Sense Nebraska organization with a lot of the other farm organizations and several of the Chamber of Commerce, the home builders. As these soybean leaders talk about Waters of the U.S. policy,
move right into it.
Just down the hall, Nebraska corn growers say they're doing the same.
We're getting to be smaller and smaller few, and we need to speak together and try to keep things status quo.
Chris Novak and Chip Bowling, the CEO and president of the National Corn Growers Association, say they're in the fight too, with Bowling leaving his Maryland farm to talk with Nebraska producers.
He's lived Waters of the U.S. in the Chesapeake Bay area for the last several years, so he's got a pretty good insight on that, and he's going to share some of that with us.
Bowling says he's done more than talk and write letters, bringing the EPA into his fields.
I took them to 5 different farms that I work and showed them what their policies meant to a farmer like me and to a farmer in Nebraska.
He tells farmers the visit opened some eyes.
There were some staffers that came out that hadn't seen some buffer strips and ditches and the circumstances that the interpretive rule would mean to a farmer like me if it were to take effect.
The commodity group wants the EPA to withdraw the rule, and as the government process moves forward, Bowling says the national corn growers will stay involved.
We want to hope that the regulations that do come down, we have a hand in how that comes out, so farmers can use those regulations to their benefit, not to their hindrance.
Bowling and Novak also talked about the recent no decision on the renewable fuel standard and about working with food companies on messages about products like high fructose corn syrup.
A little lower than expected numbers for U.S. exports. The USDA's latest forecast for this fiscal year's agricultural exports revealed a $9 billion drop compared to 2014. It is still the second highest we have had, but the crop is lower than expected for several reasons.
Most of that decline is as a result of the lower prices that we're seeing for the bulk commodities, corn, soybeans, wheat.
Analysts forecast an increase in export values for horticulture products, livestock, and dairy products, but that can change.
These numbers can move around quite a bit based on, global events.
As for U.S. imports, a different story. U.S. consumers could spend record amounts of money this fiscal year on imported farm and food products. Analysts expect a $6.8 billion increase in products the U.S. will buy from other nations. That means a record amount of imports. With the drop in exports, this can impact the nation's trade surplus.
Right now, we're forecasting that to be $27.5 billion, down from a record $43.3 billion in fiscal 2014. And that's the smallest surplus we've had in the last 7 years, since 2009.
Climate change could have a major impact on Nebraska agriculture, and that's a concern for Nebraska Farmers Union. As the group held its convention in Kearney, NTV Grows' Steve White was there and brings you more.
Well, it's something that our children and our grandchildren are going to be facing.
It's been called the Great Flash Drought of 2012. Heat soared, rain stopped, leaving pastures and non-irrigated crops devastated. As bad as it was, it could be the new normal.
2012 is projected, with the increase in high temperature stress days, to become kind of the average year for Nebraska.
A climate scientist and former head of the National Drought Center, Dr. Donald Wilhite, says climate change is real. Nebraska Farmers Union says it's time to accept that.
It is not reasonable or productive to deny the physical science.
They argue agriculture will be hugely affected. The science shows there will be more high-temperature stress days, impacting crops and livestock, and changes in rainfall.
We already live in a marginal area. It takes very little change in annual rainfall or precipitation patterns or heat patterns to have huge impacts.
Farmers Union says it drives their desire for more renewable energy, namely wind and ethanol, which can bring dollars to rural areas. And while they say agriculture contributes to climate change, they say farming practices can more than offset that.
A solution to the problem is agriculture and the way people farm and the crops that they farm.
And if we do it right, we should be rewarded for helping deal with this environmental challenge.
A Kansas farmer is fined $10,000 for selling an unauthorized wheat seed variety. The man paid the fine Monday for breaking the federal law, and settlements like this one are designed to prevent what's called brown bagging, the unauthorized selling or buying of seed stock. Kansas Wheat Alliance says buying certified seed supports the seed industry by supporting public and private research that led to improved wheat varieties. Many of you have been to auctions, and you know the sounds of the auctioneer. Well, those auctioneers can't even compete, and NTV's Alyssa Willard caught up with a local one and learns a little bit more about what it takes to be the leader of the sale.
Well, if you've ever been to an auction, then you've probably seen the auctioneers. And actually, there's a contest for auctioneers out there. And joining me now is Justin Boncha, and he's on his way to one of the big contests coming up. So can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'm headed to Coffeyville, Kansas. I'm competing in it's a World Livestock Auctioneer Contest. It's where it's a pre-qualifying. If we get in the top 10 tomorrow, then we go on and we actually go for the World Livestock Auctioneer title later in the year. It's strictly livestock. It's a great opportunity, and I just love it.
And so how did you get involved in all of this?
Probably my grandpa and dad, they took me to auctions when I was real little, and it just kind of grew on me.
And so now you've gone to other contests before, is that right?
Yeah, I've competed at state levels, and this one here is actually, it covers the whole United States and Canada.
And now you have a special chant, is that right?
I guess a chant is everybody has their own. Everybody's different. We're all unique.
And now can you give us a little bit of what you do, a little bit of your chant?
Yeah, I can give you an example of selling a set of 5-weight steers right here now, gentlemen. They want, they're light, they're green, they're good right there. 301, 2, 301, 302, 3, 4, 5, 305, 4, give me 5, stick it up in the 7, 7, down, beat down, 307, 7, high, feet, high, now 9, 309, 9, now 75, 9, 309, 9, quarter, 9, half, 75, 309, 75, you all done, 3, down, 975, settlement 309, put them in number 62 on, once I'm on 5, 62 on 5.
Wow, that was pretty impressive.
Anybody that's interested in watching the contestants as we go down the road, they're sure more than welcome to go to the LMA website and watch the contest.
Well, thank you so much, Justin, and good luck to you.
Well, thank you very, very much. It's an honor and a privilege.
And remember, we'll have that website on Nebraska.tv. You can just click on that.
New support is out there to help schools buy more food from local farmers. USDA announced the Farm to School grants. More than $5 million will help 82 projects spanning 42 states. The program helps schools purchase more food from local farmers and ranchers in their communities, expanding access to healthy local food for school children and supporting local economies. A closer look at ag precision technology and what you can add to your operation, no matter what brand of equipment you currently run. Stick with us.